My name is Sid Shah. Today is Thursday, August 13th, 2023. The time is 4 o'clock. We are at the Pewaukee VFW. I am interviewing Dick Mitchell, who was born on October 12th, 1931 in Eisenstein, Wisconsin, and served in the Korean War between August 1949 and August 1952. Dick was a sergeant in the Air Force and served as a senior radio intercept operator. This interview is sponsored by the Bell Tower Memorial.
Keep your voice up.
So, Dick, what were you doing before you entered the service?
I was in high school and I graduated when I was 17. And a bunch of my friends that I hung out with were always after me, let's go join the service and join the Army or something, because there was nothing in northern Wisconsin to do. So in whatever we were going to do, we had to leave. So finally they said, well, I told them I didn't want to join the Army. And he said, well, then they finally got around, okay, let's join the Air Force. Well, okay. So we got the recruiting sergeant to drive us all over to the Twin Cities, which they did in those days. And then we took all our tests over there, physical and mental and all that stuff. And then next morning we got up and we were going to come back. And I'm the only guy that got in the service. But the other guys, I think they had a change of heart during the night or something, and they flunked out on it. And then, but they got drafted in the Army when the war started.
So you enlisted.
I enlisted, yeah.
They got drafted.
They got drafted, yeah.
Got it.
Serves them right.
So what led to you joining us? I'm so sorry about that. So tell me about your early weeks of basic training.
Yeah, I went to Lackland Air Force Base in Texas, 13 weeks. And a lot of PT, physical therapy, marching around and going to take classes and everything, and then basically one of the first days they taught us how to get lined up in a platoons. They don't call them platoons, but squad. But anyway, one guy, it was me. We were in an Air Force base. These airplanes come over. I was looking at them, and the sergeant come over. What do you think you're doing? Well, I'm just looking at this airplanes. He's, no, you're not. He said, you're supposed to be at attention here. Oh, okay. So that's the last time I did that one. And then on PT, of course, he did a lot of marching and physical therapies and all sorts. When the guys that did the training, they wore plastic helmet liners, not the helmets themselves, just the helmet liners. And they used them to hit you with the damn thing. In those days, they could do that. And one of the guys was pretty chubby, and the guy came along and says, "Fat," so he says, "What are you doing? How are you going to get some of that weight off you? You're going to do some more PT. You get on there and give me 25, 30 push-ups on it." And then if he didn't move fast, I'd take the helmet and whack you on the head. He never had to get me.
So would you say it was pretty rigorous then?
It was rigorous, sure.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys had to lose weight. I was 17 years old. I was skinny as a rail. I didn't have to lose any. I gained weight. I was fat.
But you bulked up a lot for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what did you understand about the beginning of the dream?
The war started when I was in radio school. After basic training. That was when we graduated, there was colored guys in our squad, and so they would put us all on the train. And I'm going to use some language here. The conductor came through and he says, "You, nigger," he said, "you and that guy there getting away in the back stairs back there. You can't sit with these white people." And I said, "Wait a minute, he's with us. We're all one group. If you shut up or I'm kicking you off the train, throw you out under the bird here." Oh, okay. So that was a big lesson for me, right? Because we had colored people that were sergeants. They were doing the training all on it.
Right. So you stood up for that, and then it just didn't work out.
It did not work out yet, no.
So, in your earlier lives, you grew up around the Great Depression.
I was born in 1931, so right in the middle of the Depression. Yeah, but I gotta say, I cannot remember ever going hungry. We lived on a farm, and so we always raised a lot of food. And my dad, when my memories were that Dad always had a job. He worked in a paper mill over there in the Depression, And, yeah, and mom, well, she had, her dad had 9 kids, and she was getting busy all the time.
Right, yeah.
Everything by hand. I remember, um, helping mom do wash clothes. I think she had a copper boiler, full of water on a wood stove, and in the summer, part of the summer, got inside that little log cabin we lived in. And then I had to cut that yellow bars of yellow soap. Do it, and then you swish it around with a paddle, get the soapy water, then you throw the clothes in, and then you kept them in there for a while, and mom said, okay, you gotta take them out, then you gotta rinse them, and then you put them on the hand wringer, rinse them out. And I remember one Christmas, the 2 older boys, Bill and Faye, went into the city, Park Falls, and they went to the appliance store, and they said, how much for a wash machine, Maytag wash machine? And they sold them with little gas engines on it. And then so the guy told me, he says, well, how much for cash? Holy mackerel, okay, we're getting cash. And they delivered it to him. We did probably put on the sticks. And so, but I can always see mom in my head starting a little gas machine, full of gas, starts the thing, you know, what, then it would wash the clothes and put them through the mirror, all pouring up, pouring back, what it's like there.
So you wouldn't say it affected you that much?
No,
That much.
no, we always, I always had brothers and sisters who run around on. Mom, get outside, the nice weather, get outside and play. Hey, mom, can we come in now? No, we stay outside there for a while.
Yeah. So going back into your training, what kind of specialist training did you have to do?
I ended up going to radio school in Biloxi, Mississippi, and I was there for 8 months. And then it was an air base; they had airplanes there, and so I wanted to enter the radio. There was a radio out there. I wanted to be the bombers. Oh, every bomber's got a radio out there. And the Korean War started. Full bands. I wanted to get in the car. I wanted to get flying duty on. Well, I've been lucky most of my life with things, and I they didn't put me there. I was a ground operator. Anyway, after I graduated there, they sent me back to Texas into Fort Sam Houston for intercept operator. And the job was that we were listening on the Russians and the Chinese, and we had voice, CW. I was a CW operator for school, and then language and line integrity. And we all did separate jobs. My job is when I graduated, they shipped me overseas right away to Japan. So we get in a hut, big Quonset hut, and we'd have a row of what, 2 to 5 radios, big ones. But that's a little dials on it. And the radio field was gosh, must have been 15 acres or more, bigger. Yeah, because the antennas were full weight, it's not came home. And each one of those radio sets was tuned at certain times of the day, reception was better on those. So anyway, we just keep searching. Being run across something that sounds interesting. You got to start typing. You have each one got a typewriter and get a big roll, 5 carbons, paper, and type on that. And then when you get something you think is interesting, wave your hand, and the guy comes back, tears it off, and takes it back in so they can decode it. And even just one little dip that tells something, you had to get everything done. And someone had to guess that. Did you know you? No. So because they use CW or the same thing, of course, as we did. Right.
So you didn't have to learn the first section. So you just
we had voice operators there, but they were in a separate section.
Yeah.
And I did listen to some of that stuff because it's on the radio. And they would be doing exercises with squadrons of planes. And I can remember the last video I said this, it's like over and out for us, I guess.
Right, yeah.
But my nephew was going to Russian language school in West Bend here a few years ago. And I asked him, I says, ask the teacher if she knows what that word is. She never heard of it.
Did you know, did you ever receive any specific, really important messages? Do you know?
No, the only ones that knew anything about it was the Russian language, because they knew it and they knew what they were talking about. Like the airplanes, they were on those runs and they're big mountains on us. And so they were always on that thing. And then one time, he was searching and here comes a Russian out in the clear talking English. He says, when your plane just went down in the straits north of Hokkaido, he says, you better get a plane up there. So they did. Saved me. And another time, the guy was running the machine, take about it, and brings in the office. And so he was searching, all this call came in from some Russian somewhere. So he answered because it's significant, guys. Right. So they chatted back and forth. He got some information from the guy. Also, says, where are you? Put him in, and then he got it off.
So earlier you said you had to travel. Where did you say you
From radio school?
Yeah.
Right to Japan.
went to Japan? Was there anything else?
We were caught in a typhoon and then when it was Kaiser tubs. We were going full bore ahead in the damn typhoon, pulling us backwards. And then, of course, when the sailors come and say, these Kaiser ships got a bad habit of breaking into, which I probably haven't thought of did. But well, we did. But I remember sitting on deck and be looking way up there at the top of the waves, and then way down there. I don't know how big the waves were, but they were
Right.
and when we got on the first ship to leave Golden Gates, as soon as we left got in the ocean, the captain turned that boat right so you get nice wave action. Everybody got sick.
Yeah.
So I was in one of the top bunks, back bunks in the boat, and so I started feeling queasy. So I'm going to go up in front of the toilets right. So I went down and I'm just going to step over that combing, which is they had steel doors in. But yeah, so many guys were throwing up that big waves of it. I ran back up on the deck.
You would say that was more scary. You said you would say that was more scary than
No,
yeah, I bet.
And then we finally made it to Japan and then checked in and then was it was trucks and it was down in Kyushu, Shiamachi. And that was an air base. We had a separate building and the whole complex was all ours. It's again nothing with the rest of the Air Force base there. We had our own cooks, our own MPs, one trucks, and everything was all our own. They had nothing to do with it. And they had trouble there. Some of the Japs would sneak in on the base and climb up and cut the wires off and a big copper wire. Yeah, something for scrap. So they put a big fence around the base, and they had a big fence, and they repaired the rest of the building. And then one of the MPs, we always had MPs that came to our radio show, and he was watching around there. There comes a guy walking across the field. He hollered and opened the door and the window and says, "Oh!" I looked at him and took off running. It's not shot him with leg off and killed him. Yeah, and what happened was we just got through the field working the things. So like,
yeah. So what would you say would be your most important contribution?
in the service, doing my job, what you're told, do the best job you can, and be as good as you can.
Right.
That was good for life after that.
So you see, that's their whole attitude.
I was a 17-year-old kid. Well, I thought I knew everything.
Yeah. You think you did your job? What do you say?
Oh, yeah.
I bet. So what would you say is one of your proudest moments? Like, what's something that sticks out to you?
Well, I tell you, I've seen all these airplanes, the fighter airplanes and the boxcars and all that stuff, taking and landing in our air base out there. And I thought, that really looks interesting. I'd rather be a pilot. Somebody talked to me. Sergeant, he says, sure. He says, we'll send you back to the States, and you learn to be a pilot. And then he says, you come back over here and pilot anybody you want, which that was probably one. So you were still, that's, so, and, so I said, well, that sounds interesting. I said, okay, so what's the process here? He said, well, you gotta take these tests, GED tests, because I hadn't put $100. So I passed those. He says, okay, now I said, what you do now? You just sign this on the dotted line here, and you should fax. This, what's this 7 years here? Oh, you're going to be in for 7 years. To me, 17-year-old kid, 7 years, like 7 lifetimes. Not right. I see. And I said I was lucky. I was lucky there because there was fighters for brilliance got shot down right and left. Those bombers are getting shot down all the time. You make a lot of friends. Well, a lot of people mix up friends and acquaintances, right? Yeah, a lot of guys, yeah. And I had a few friends. And after the war, they did have Indians, right? And I got to be able to contact them. Yeah. And later on, I'm sure most of the guys I knew probably dead. What did you say? Apart from the type, is there anything else about this year? Like, because we have this program here. Well, they talked about this, the Marines, and how they talked crap at the reservoir. And this base I was on, they had the whole base, everybody out there except us. The MPs, workers, everybody went on and rolled those boxcars up. I think they're 119s. They're in some stuff. They get cheap stuff up there and without hanging. And they do all the stuff over there. These Marines are trapped and they fought their way back to a one big canyon. And the Chinese had blown the bridge across. So people on our they flew in a bridge all in pieces. They fly over and kick the parts off. And the Marines kept all the parts except one bridge. So I was on a memorial run out on the East Coast. And when I came back, there was a guy who for half a foot. He was a Marine. And he said, I was in the treatment. I said, well, I told him about the bridge. He said, yep, I know that. I know about that. He says, I said, what did you do with it to get off? He says, well, there's so many dead Chinese there. We just go about like quarter of roads. Did you ever have to, you never had to lectures like communities? No. A lot of like people, our outfit did have trucks that he sent over to Korea, radios. And he said, okay, you're up, you're in the front lines. You put the rear end toward the north there, and then you leave the door open. If you see the Chinese coming, you should take these grenades, soft phosphorus grenades, and you throw them in there, set everything on fire, and you take out. You don't stick around. And we were issued achievements. Right. Did you have any? No, I had a carbine. And once a year, you had to march down to the country and then your weapon out. And then you go out and shoot. That was fun. And then back when you got to head back in, they not allowed to do it. Right. But I don't remember where I got it, but I picked P-38, which is German. And so I had it for quite a while. And they had to put that in the storage. So they told me you're not going to be able to take that back to the US. Yeah. Oh, crap. So, okay, so the guy had in my next to me, he had to have it. So I sold it to money. But I found later on, guys took back all kinds of stuff. I couldn't have done that. Was there anything funny or fun thing you did? Well, we were on duty, I think it was 4 days in a row, and then we'd have 3 days off. And it just, because they had to have every day covered, including weekends, right? And so, and the whole squad would be off at the same time. So we'd go out there and rent the whole place. And then resident owners, gate, meters and all that.
No, there wasn't like different shifts. You said all of you guys.
There was 3 shifts, and then you, when you come back, then you start on this, like very days, we came back for a second shift. We back up, right? We came back for a night shift.
Yeah.
So every shift.
So you get a lot of sleep then, like if there was the shifts.
Well, unless they decided to pull, like generally turns and base, or they decided to have big exercise and the impressions are coming in, and the gongs all walking, and you have to get out of bed, rest up, and take their. So that was the thing. Otherwise, you know,
Would you say your general was pretty unmemorable guy? Is there anything interesting?
I can't really remember what was in the books.
Was there anything like that he made you guys do in terms of like did he was he pretty good?
Once in a while, but most of these done their basic training.
Right.
Now we did. Now we went out in the field, and there were little radio ones, and they were the size of one of these little campers that's in the back of the pickup. Set it on the ground, and then hooked up to the antennas, and then we had a listen to it down there. Right. And type of what.
Yeah. So it was like different for each job. Like you guys, that's what you would have.
Sorry.
Okay. Is there anything you learned about yourself in your time? Like in what did you learn about
About myself. Well, I learned we do the job, best job we can. Do it as best as we can, and no complaints. No best as best. I that go to for the whole way.
Yeah. Was any developments there like completely change your perspective? Who you were fighting? In terms of like, just change your perspective on like who you were fighting.
Oh, well, of course, we were fighting the Russians, the Chinese, and the North Koreans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they tried to take over. The North Koreans tried to take over. And Truman, he got the UN behind him. They had UN soldiers. My brother, he was in the army, and he was artillery. And, he was up in the front lines, and so he called me. He said, "He's not coming in 5 days R&R. Let's go to Tokyo. Rest of the project." That's anyway, so I went to see the sergeant. He turned our base there. And he said, "Sure." He said, "I'll give you 5 days." So okay, my brother Alan picked me up, and we got on the train.
Oh, your brother has a station.
He was in Korea. So we got a hotel, and the first thing we found out was that this hotel was the place where all the soldiers dug out ahead is imperial warriors that were all way over 6 foot tall. It was just well, my brother's wasn't a little short of that, but after a few drinks in the house. No, we didn't do that. And then after that one night, then we went into Tokyo. He was involved drinking, all that stuff.
Yeah.
We met with a bunch of English soldiers, commies. And those guys drink and fight. Oh my goodness. Anyway, after 3 days of my 5 days, I had to go back to this.
Right.
Yeah. My brother was supposed to. He was the Yeah.
Were any of your other siblings, in foreign service?
My one brother was in the Petrograd War. And he ran right at the end of the war, so he didn't get into fighting. He did parachute drops over them. And then from there, he shipped him over to Japan.
Yeah.
He worked his whole life there, skiing down one of these big Japanese. Anyway, he was skiing down around those things. And he was also trained in gliders. So we had glider wings and parachute. He died in the last July.
Where do you use
Yep, my one brother, one was in the army, one was in the merchant marine, and he, during the war, he went on some of the mermaids, literally goes up into Russia. Very, very bad. Yeah, this is the issue. These special poses to slip on in case you get torpedoed in the water. It's place those people is keeping alive for what 5 minutes in the ice cold water, but it's easy to pick your eyes up. They're yellows. So after 2 of those months, he said that's not that. So then he signed up for trips to India and to the Mediterranean. Then he got over to the West Coast and he took ships around. I took ships around the port and into the Pacific. And on the one trip, he was the chief engineer, and he was supposed to make sure that all the parts necessary for the refrigeration machine was on board ship. So we were up around the southern South America, and compressor broke ice regulation. So he went to the whole. He said I had every single part you could want there, except one part was the crankshaft. And says nothing you can do about it. And since so the ship was ordered down one button, and it started turning rotten places. We had a lot of rotten buttons. I wouldn't do that today. Is that would be wrong?
So, your siblings, how long were they?
My one brother was in the army. He was in 30 years. Was in 3 wars: World War II, Vietnam War, and Vietnam. And in Vietnam, he was an advisor to some Vietnam Rangers. And he got wounded over there. That's what he did for the movie. And he got special medal from the South. Gold.
So, when you were in school, did you miss?
I guess, but my dad was at home, and my younger brother and my sister was there. And I was in the service for 3 years, 3 months, and 27 months. And I was out of the service in Shitty Air Force Base.
You travel anywhere outside of Japan?
Well, when all those days were off, I did it. I get on the plane, drive to Tokyo, move around. I went to museums, right? And one of them, I were going down and walking on the Ginza bus the next to Tokyo. Here's this guy sitting drawing pictures of people that won their 50 bucks. So I says, how much? And he gave her back to me. It was pennies. American dollar was king. Right. And so I said, now I should have let that go. It was spot on.
Yeah. So you say you were like
oh yeah, museums, parks, and you want to find a place that you like a bar or something. Yeah, everyone had little matches, their addresses on it, because during the war, Tokyo was almost all 100% burned down. So when they built up, all over the place, and to find a place, you had to go ahead of time. And the cabs were, the pedicabs, bicycles, or else, when we got there, a lot of them were so charcoal burners, they had burners sitting at the back of the cab, making gas, actual gas, not gasoline. Then they just run it. I talked to the drivers one time, he says, yeah, he said they run, but going uphill, not too good. He said, you think they get out, jump out, come push.
So were you and your friends just like walking around since you're outfit or yeah. How do you think the people
It's hard to tell because they were very stoic. Smile and laugh. Sometimes, whatever reason, well, the air base on Conchita, she much. It was all sand, so they wanted to get some gravel. So we took a whole bunch of 6x, all our some guys, and we drove over in on the Black Fishing Village, and then they had a big wall there, rock wall. So here right down here, I don't know if they put them there or what, but they had little brown gravel like that, washed them down there on the shelves. We throw it up there, and then they get thrown up in the trucks. And about 20 of these Japanese online are watching us. They watched, they didn't say nothing. I know if the ocean is going to wash them all the way down. Yeah, that's wasn't. Oh, when we first, I hadn't been working. She had watching too long, and they had a big company picnic that night. So a lot of beer, of course. And then he had, we had our own cooks. We had good spread, and then the guy, the sergeant in charge, he got governor, and so he went back to base. He got a six star, and he's going to drive home. He drives that thing, even ocean for water bird, and killed it. So he went back, got another one, and then he drove that. And then he got an actual fist fight with it. I'm saying, not good. And but that's what I learned in service. And you got Frank usually.
Yeah. So what was it food that you had?
We had so much steak that I kind of lost my taste. And then Thanksgiving, we had roast turkey, hams, and shark. Shark meat was about that big, great big chunks of all there by big stuff. And of course on holidays, most of them ate couldn't eat much.
When you say the food that you had like in your actual time, right? I guess like actually in your job, that
I had no complaints. Of course, I can remember in basic training, some of the guys were kind of picky eaters, and I couldn't figure that out because I've been doing things pretty good. You know, they wouldn't eat ice cream. Holy mackerel, the fire heck on it, and would eat ice cream laundry. So I thought my time in service, it was an experience.
right? What food options do you like?
I eat just butter. I eat like liver, and my wife, she would make or cook it when my dad came down to visit. When I
So what was the first thing you did?
I went back home up in northern Wisconsin, and I laid around and brought unemployment, 20s. Then, okay, that ran out, so now I got to do something. I and they had the paper workers wanted in Mill City, Malibu. Machine was nuts. Big iron phone. So I went down there, got a job right away, and I invited him to stay in, and I found him roommate. He's a World War II vet, and so he was in one bedroom, I was in the other bedroom, we're upstairs. And first thing he did was, "Now, Dick," he says, "I sleep pretty light. He says, when you gotta get up in the morning. He says, whatever you do, no one come over and touch me." He says, "And you're gonna get up on the floor." He just grabbed the bed and shook him a bit. He's, I'll wake up right away. So then Bell City Mel opened me. It was a gray iron foundry. And they started the electric arc furnaces melting there. And somebody told me that they started up early in the morning about 5, 6 o'clock because it took so much power that the lights would come but dim. I don't know. That was interesting. And then the guy that I knew, but he got a job with the big stand grinders, the wheels are about 2 foot in diameter, that wide. And so he was an older guy, and he was around, he's not very full of corn and time checking on these castings. So he says, there's 2 of these big boxes of castings here. Now he said, we're gonna go through these and pick out the worst ones you can find. Everything, little snags and risers and gates, and throw them in the bottom. And the good ones are here. Yeah. Now he said, when it comes to timing, that's the ones we're going to do. So he's working his butt off, you know, he's sweating like a pig. Yeah. And the guy was timing it. Right? Okay, so when he leaves, now we're gonna make some money.
How would you say? What was it like transitioning to civilian life, like in terms of like?
Well, I was loose and fancy free. I was only 19.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what to do. My folks never one word from anybody. There were little farmers around there in northern Wisconsin. Nobody talked about going to college.
Right.
And so anyway, so when I got that job, then I went to visit my sister one time. She lived in Milwaukee. So I drove up there. I bought a car and would get food. And then I drove up and walked in the door. And he was there, but it was a redheaded gal that got hit by it on the night school. So it ended up we got married. And then I did several different kinds of jobs, but you know, in the 30, and shortly after we got married, I took one weekend I had to stay around shore off. So anyway, I got back and there's a piece of paper sitting on the door out here laid off. Okay, 1950s. And so things were pretty tough finding jobs at that time. And so I on the streets and all every morning or on. Then I right across the street was the library. And I love reading books, and so I still do. And so I go there and one day the librarian says, "You must work second shift or something." I said, "No, I'm looking for a job." She's like, she's my sister works in Square D, and she said, "No." So the next day she had a little sheet, filled it all in, get back to her. Next day I get back, she says, "You're hired." It helps to know people.
Yeah. So, what are some of the life lessons you learned?
Well, don't be a rubber or a whiner. Yeah, you gotta do something good, right? Good. And I started after that time when I got laid off, I got told my wife, I says, I gotta go back to school. Yeah, so I went back to diesel engineer. And then well, that was on the GI Bill. Yeah. And so then after I graduated from that, I got a job and traveling traveling in Canada and trying to go over to North Wisconsin and Minnesota and whatever they wanted. But all different kinds of jobs. All of his own diesels. Perfect diesels made in Waukesha.
So, would you encourage young people today to make some mistakes?
Definitely, definitely. There's not hurt a person or fit to learn some discipline and how to work with other people. Yep.
So you feel like the life lessons in it's like be applied to them?
Oh, sure. Maybe in kids they get a little smarter.
In closing, this has been an interview of Dick Mitchell regarding his service in the Korean War. My name is Sid Shah, and time is 4:45. Thank you for agreeing to this interview, and most importantly, thank you for your service.
I took breakfast here, in case I couldn't remember. I didn't have to look.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting.